Okay, so everybody, today we have Jazmine with us. So Jazmine, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Jazmine, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jazmine. I'm from the UK, but I'm half Japanese and I'm in my third year at the University of Tsukuba studying social sciences and social studies.
Hmm, great. And I understand that your background is a little bit interesting in terms of where you lived. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I grew up in Tanzania, which is in East Africa. I lived there because of my dad's work. So I lived there till I was 11. And then after that, we moved to the UK to get a better education for me and my brother. And then following that, I came to university in Japan.
Hmm. Okay, great. And Jazmine, how would you describe your program um, in your own words?
I'd say it's very diverse. You get to learn a lot of different things. It's social sciences and international studies. So you learn a lot of aspects about society and sociology, but you also get to learn about like global issues and law and politics. And you also do economics. So it's kind of like a diverse range of subjects that are kind of put into one. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there are a variety of subjects that are put into this one major, right?
Yes.
And you study completely in English, I understand.
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, what was your uh, favorite course?
One of my favorite courses was Law and Society in Japan. I think it was because you kind of learn about the social aspect of Japanese society, but also about law and how that law fits into Japanese society. And I also kind of learned about law for the first time. So yeah, we get to learn about law and politics and kind of legal systems as well. So that's really interesting area and it was kind of new to me. So that was
Okay.
one of the most interesting.
Mm-hmm. Were you expecting to study law when you first came to the program?
I didn't think I would study law. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously it's only kind of like an introductory course, so you don't really
Yeah.
go as in depth, but it's still really interesting and I think something that is useful to know as well.
Hmm. Right. But it's not a law degree, but you
Mhm.
took it but they offer it as a course, right?
Mhm.
Okay, good. And how are your professors? Let's talk about them first. What's your
Mhm.
impression of them?
Um, the professors are really interesting. They all kind of have different backgrounds. We have some Japanese professors that teach in English as well, and then we have a lot of professors from a lot of different countries who all come to Tsukuba. Same as our students who are from all over the world. It's same with the professors. So we kind of get a lot of insight from them as well, and they're also really helpful and they kind of care about us in that my advisor, academic advisor, she always checks in on my batch of students to make sure we're all doing okay. And we meet up for coffee sometimes too. So I think they're really helpful and insightful.
Mhm. Okay. How about your classmates? What are they like?
Kind of similar to what I just said about the professors, we get students from all over the world. So it's very diverse batch of students that comes to Tsukuba.
Mhm.
So like I've never been, or I have been in kind of that situation where there's a diverse number of students from different countries.
Right.
So it was kind of familiar to me that there was students not only my race or my ethnicity, but from different countries of all different races and different ethnicities and cultures. So it's really interesting to talk to them about their own countries and yeah, it's just really interesting to be in a diverse group of students.
Mm. What's so great about diversity? Like, why is it so important to have like a diverse student body, in your opinion?
I think having a diverse student body means that you can have kind of a more diverse view of different topics because you can kind of gain knowledge from each other Like you will have the opportunity to speak with people from countries that you might have never like thought about or even like known. Like I met people from Vietnam and Indonesia and like Mongolia who I never thought I would like meet those kind of people from those kind of countries just because it's like such a wide range of countries where people come from. So I think having like a diverse student body is important for like developing more of an open view on countries and like cultures, which I think is really important nowadays, especially.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's talk a little bit about your admission process. Like, what was it like?
So my admission process was from the UK. I had to like fill out all the documents and all the application forms and then send them like from the UK to Japan. And it kind of included like a financial plan, a study plan, the official like application form. And you also have to write like get a teacher's recommendation as well. And you kind of send all of those over to the university and then the document screening process. And then you get like an interview as well. And then following that, you get like your admission.
What was the most challenging aspect?
For me, it was the making sure you get everything on time, like on the deadlines, especially because you'll be applying like from your own country. I don't know if you can send them through email now, but when I applied, we had to send them all as paper copies. So we had to like post everything. So making sure everything arrives by the deadline is really important. So
Right.
yeah, making sure you like do everything early and on time. I think that was the most difficult.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And do you have a scholarship?
I have a tuition exemption now. I had a scholarship, like a grant in my first year, but now I only have tuition exemption.
Okay. And how did you get those scholarships? And secondly, the tuition exemption. What was the application process like? Yeah.
So when you first enter the university, like after you get the admission, so before you enter, but you've been accepted, usually they will like send you an email about the tuition exemption and the scholarships you can apply for. So you can choose to do those. And then as you're in university, the office will usually send us emails when we get close to the application period for the scholarships and tuition exemptions or tuition deferments to like remind us to apply. And they will send us like the form. I think the tuition exemption, you get the form, and then some of the scholarships, it just reminds you, and then you have to go and find the form on the university website. So yeah, you just have to apply regularly, like every year.
Okay. Okay. So you have to apply regularly, but it sounds to me like they send you reminders so as to not miss the deadlines.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's helpful, I think. So you apply for the scholarship after you get accepted, right? And before actual enrollment. Yeah.
Yes, before.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was before enrollment.
Okay. All right. And in terms of living in Tsukuba, are you able to make it?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy like location to live in. If you compare it to like a bigger city such as Tokyo, I think it's much easier to live here because the like living expenses are much lower than like a big city such as Tokyo. So I think it's pretty easy to live here, and especially if you're able to get like scholarships and tuition exemptions, I think it's kind of easier to live here.
How much do you think it costs per month to live in Tsukuba?
I think you can live in Tsukuba for under like 100,000 yen. I think you can live comfortably.
Okay. And your rent is about?
My rent is around 40,000.
40,000.
So
Okay.
you have like the rest of that too for food and for like activities and transportation. So you can still do a lot of stuff. And Tsukuba, the location is pretty good too, that we have access to like Tokyo and you can go to a range of places. So I think it's pretty good.
Okay, that's good. Do you eat out with your friends?
Yeah, I eat out pretty often. Mainly because there's so many like restaurants and cheap places to eat, like good cheap places to eat around like the surrounding area of the university. So it's pretty easy to just go like after class to go and eat. Um, and everyone kind of lives in the same area too. So I go out with my friends to eat pretty often.
Okay. And can I ask this question? And it's a comparison question, which might not make sense to our audience, but I'm hoping it will. Is compared to your hometown of Sussex, is it just about the same, or is it more expensive, or is it cheaper in terms of living?
I think it's a lot cheaper,
Mhm.
mainly because the like living expense is pretty cheap. And because everything is kind of located pretty close together,
Mhm.
a lot of the students like use bicycles to like go around the university and like to
Mhm.
class or like to eat or to the supermarket.
Mhm.
I think you don't have to pay for the bus or something.
Mhm.
So I think that aspect is also cheap. So I think it's a lot cheaper than when I was living in the UK.
Okay, you're telling me, you were earlier telling me about your friend,
Mhm.
or your friends who were asking
Yeah.
about you, and they were asking you how you could afford to go out
Yes.
so much, and what was your answer?
Yeah, I said it was like the restaurants are just so cheap in
Mhm.
Japan, and it's like healthy and good food as
Mhm.
well. So it's pretty convenient to like go out to eat um, with your friends. Also, we all live in the same area, so it's
Right.
pretty easy to just go out to eat
Mhm.
like almost every day or like a lot of couple times a week.
Right. Right. Um, and I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about your bicycle, actually. Uh, y- you have a bicycle, and it's just a very simple question, but I think it's an important question. Like, how did you get your bicycle? Like, and how much was it, or
Um,
was it a used one, and
mhm.
how easy was it to get it?
So my first bicycle,
Mm.
I have a different bicycle now, but the first bicycle that I got when I came to Tsukuba,
Mhm.
um, so when I arrived to Tsukuba, you get like a tutor
Mhm.
who's like an older student that helps you like move in and everything.
Okay.
So that day that I arrived, the first thing we did after we like dropped my luggage off was we went to the bicycle shop to get a bicycle because you
Okay.
kind of need a bicycle to kind of um travel around Tsukuba and
Mhm.
like go to the shops. So that was the first thing I did. And I got like a pretty cheap bicycle. It was a new one, but I think it was like 17,000,
Okay.
which is like pretty cheap for a new,
Mhm.
like just a bicycle with like a basket.
Right.
I think you can get them cheaper. You can buy secondhand ones as well, which are a lot
Mhm.
cheaper. So I used that bicycle for like my first year and a half.
Okay.
And then I got a bicycle, a newer bicycle from my friend
Mm.
who was like graduating.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think everybody needs a bicycle in school.
Right. Right. Right.
That's like the main form of transportation here
Yeah.
for students.
Okay. And how about when it's raining and stuff? Like, and is it, you have to be careful, right?
Yeah, when it's raining, a lot of people still ride their bicycles,
Mhm.
but it can get like you can get really wet. So
Mhm.
there's also like the bus. There's a bus that goes the whole way around the university that a lot of students will use.
Mhm.
And it comes like every like 10, 15 minutes. So
Mhm.
that's pretty convenient for when it's raining or when the weather's bad.
Right. Right. Okay. And how's the bus fare?
I think yeah, it's pretty cheap. I think it's like just between 100 and 200 yen. And you can get like a yearly pass. So you can pay in like bulk and you can just ride the bus whenever you want.
Mhm.
So that's pretty convenient as well.
Okay. Good. 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 Then let me again shift gears and talk about like we've been talking a lot about cost and all that, but now just in general, um, what were some of the difficulties that you faced when you first moved to Tsukuba?
Um, some of the difficulties, maybe like putting yourself like out there to make friends
Hmm.
is kind of one difficulty. Like, because obviously you come all the way to like a new country,
Right.
and it's pretty easy to just kind of stick in the group of like international students. But I think one of the difficulties was kind of like pushing myself to branch out,
Hmm.
actually interact with Japanese students
Yeah.
and kind of go out of like my comfort zone.
Hmm.
So I think that was one of my main difficulties.
Okay. Um, and I think this question, the next question is related to what you just said, but what advice would you give to students who are thinking of moving
Yeah.
here? Yeah.
Um, yeah, as I said, I think one of the main advice I would give is to kind of go out of your comfort zone
Hmm.
and kind of try and interact with not just the international students. Obviously, it's like important to meet the students you're going to be studying with mainly, and
Hmm.
like they're all from different countries, so it's very interesting to like become friends with them and everything. But also, I think on the other hand, you should also like join some sports clubs or like some circles
Hmm.
where there are a lot of Japanese students, because they also are interested in like becoming friends with international students. So I think it's kind of a good way to improve your Japanese, to like
Hmm.
actually live in like the society surrounded by actual
Right.
Japanese people.
Right.
Since they've like come all the way to Japan, it would be, kind of be a waste to not try and interact with the Japanese students as well. So
Right.
yeah, that's
Right.
some advice I would give.
Okay. Um, like I think when we were doing our practice run before, you talked a little bit about culture shock.
Mhm.
Um, and I think you talked a little bit about the differences in terms of how people interact with each other in Japan as compared to back in Sussex, for example.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? I think it's
Sure.
important. Yeah.
So, like in the UK or a lot of like Western countries or just foreign countries in general, I think they're a lot more like open when they speak to new people or like with their friends, and you can kind of create these really deep connections um, quite easily because of how like open everyone is to other people. But in Japan, I'm not saying they're not like open to making friends and meeting people, but there's kind of like this like suppression of like their
Mm,
actual like um how they like put themselves out there. Kind of they're very they care about their like image a lot. So they're always kind of like holding something down, I think. So it's
mm,
kind of a little bit difficult to create like really deep connections unless you obviously you can create them, but I think it takes a lot like a longer time to do that. Um and also there's another thing.
mm.
My friend group is mainly like half Japanese people, so we're kind of used to like outside of Japan.
Right.
So we hang out like every single day
Hmm.
easily without like making a schedule. But a lot of Japanese people, if you try to like um set up a time to meet with them, they kind of need like a few weeks in advance to like
Right. Right.
set the date.
Right.
So I don't know why they're so busy, but like they won't they need to like set the date like really in advance too. So I think that's
Right.
kind of interesting too.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, like it's almost like, can you talk to my people about that kind
Yeah,
of like,
exactly.
and my people will talk to your people
Mhm.
about the time when we were supposed to meet. It's like making an appointment with a foreign dignitary sometimes,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
yeah, they need to know ahead of time often. Yeah, oftentimes. Not every time and not everybody, of course, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's an interesting aspect. It's just different. Yeah,
Yes.
I guess. Mm,
Yeah, that's like normal here. But to us, it's kind of like, why do you need so long to like
hmm.
decide or something? But
Right.
pretty the normal way that it is here.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Well, any last words of advice?
If I were to give like advice to students thinking about applying to Tsukuba, I would say to like apply early to make sure you meet all the deadlines. Learn a little bit of Japanese to like get you going. You get to do like Japanese classes when you come to the university, so just knowing some like basics. would be good just to get by the first few weeks. And then, yeah, don't be afraid to like put yourself out there and like interact with everybody that's at the university.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jazmine, for your time. And I'm sure that our audience found it really interesting and insightful. So Jazmine, please take care and best of luck to you. Thanks.
Thank you.